Welcome to the first episode of Road to Time Attack. Today, we're pulling the engine out of this car to paint the engine bay because we can. Let's do it. First things first, make sure you disconnect your battery. We're going to start by pulling apart the front suspension to pull your axles out, because we're going to be pulling the transmission with the motor. We're also going to go ahead, we're going to pull out both headlights, this crash bar down here, as well as the rad to make room, pull the engine up and out. We do have the option, because we have a hoist, of dropping the engine down. But because we know most of you guys won't have a hoist at home, we're going to pull it out the top like you normally would on a driveway. Make sure when you're pulling your rad, you undo this cap. Also make sure it's not hot. If you leave this cap on under pressure, you will lose a lot of coolant very quickly and make a mess. Also make sure you have a suitable device for catching the coolant, as you might want to reuse it later. Like I said before, make sure you have something to catch all your coolant. It would suck if you made a mess, got it all over your shop, and had to clean it up. And then I would be upset because you made a mess. So just make sure that you have somewhere to catch it. Or just do what I do and dump it all over the floor. I mean, you only live once, right? And once you have the whole front end apart here, lots of room. It's really easy to work on the Honda. Lots of room to get the crane in here, pull it all out. Next thing we got to do is we got to worry about the axles. So we're going to lift the car up and we're going to pull some axle nuts, pull some axles out. So we're going to pull that nut right in the middle there and then hammer the axle out. No, got it. And then if this centerpiece doesn't come out, put a punch on it, hit it with a hammer. There you go. Axle comes out, slides out of the hub. Nice and easy. On these Hondas here, you got this intermediate shaft bearing. Some of them will, some of them don't. 2 bolts, 3 bolts, depends. Pull it out. And then while you're down here, make sure you disconnect this engine mount back here. You're under here anyways. Save yourself a trip, get that taken off. Quickly gonna pull the axle out here. Shove a bar in there. Axle's out. Nice and easy. We're quickly just gonna pull this knuckle apart here. This one, the bottom one now. bigger gun.
We've gone ahead and fought with it more than we needed to, but we pulled the axle out there. So out of the transmission, you can see the hold right there. And we're just gonna let it sit like this. We did both sides, so now we're gonna go up back and work on some fuel stuff. Couple things to do up here. Better fuel lines that we've got to pull off. Throttle cable. Your vehicle may or may not have AC. This one does not. That was taken out a long time ago when the compressor exploded. We've also got a power steering system. We're going to actually pull it and leave the power steering system with the vehicle. That way we don't make a mess. We don't have to rebleed it. We don't have to worry about seals, anything like that. And that's just how I like to do it, is we can leave power steering, doesn't make a mess, makes it nice and easy for the next guy. But given that we are going to be painting the engine bay, we are just going to pull it with it. Otherwise, I would just leave it. I would just leave it with it, make it easier on yourself. We're going to pull up the throttle cable here. We don't have cruise control of this vehicle. We removed that. We'll be putting it back in, wrap it around, pull this guy out there. If I could get it. There we go. Undo that nut. That wasn't tight. Up, out she comes. We're also going to quickly just pull apart some of the transmission or shifter stuff here. This guy right here, this one's manual. Automatic is a little bit different. But a manual in here, you got some cotter pins here that you just got to pull out. And then you slip off these two tabs. These come off. Leave those with the vehicle.
So I'll be removing the harness from the ECU because it's easier to remove the harness with the engine instead of disconnecting all the sensors.
A couple pieces here at the front of the motor we just got to remove. Remember how I said pull off the battery first? This is why. This alternator goes straight to the power. If you were to touch your engine as well as that nut right there, you would start welding. That's not good. In the same breath of air, the starter wire, same thing. You touch your ratchet to this nut up here and to the metal, you start welding. You lose a ratchet, you start a fire, it's no fun. Okay, back of your engine here, you got your heater core lines, two of them. One's down here, one's right there, goes to that there. Allows this coolant to go to your heater. So we got to pull these lines off so they can go with engine. One of the last things we got to do before we pull this out, there's a clutch line to our slave cylinder right here. I'm going to pull it here because I can't pull it over there because all those connections are corroded and stuck. We're going to pull this out and then we're going to do our remaining motor mounts here and we're going to pull the engine. Okay, one last thing that I totally forgot to mention and do on camera. Pull your exhaust. Pull those studs. They'll break stuff if you don't. And I have our crane all hooked up here. I put a chain across from two strong points. All that's left is that engine mount there. That engine mount by Yuri's hand. Right there. And then it's ready to come out. Okay, we got the motor mounts off. We're gonna pull the engine now. We started this about 6:15. We messed around, had a couple of things we had to fight with. It is now 8:17, so 2-ish hours to pull it out.